All right, that brings us to our first segment of this episode. And we wanted to give a shout to Chewy. Every once in a while, you see one of these consumer service, when you see it by like a big company like Chewy, you're even that much more impressed. And I think it's, as we talk about this, I think the idea here is you can find something tactical to take away even for your own practice. But, they just really go so far above and beyond what it would be expected of like a dog food company that we want to call it out, hope to highlight some useful things you might be able to use at your practice, and recognize the work that they're doing here. So today at Lunch Hour Legal Marketing, we are honoring those who make the effort to serve their customers, clients in the context of law firms. And today we are honoring Chewy with the Medal for Exceptional Customer Service. And if you haven't followed what Chewy's doing here, we'll break it down. We'll share the tweet. There's a bunch of this. It's gone viral. I know, Conrad, you even have a personal story that maybe you want to share, but I'm just going to read the tweet here. That at least this is one of them that we found when this was coming up, when it was trending. But person contacted Chewy last week to see if they could return an unopened bag of their dog's dog food after the dog died. So person's dog died, called up Chewy and were like, hey, I've got all this dog food. Can I return it? Like, we don't have use for it. So Chewy gave them a full refund, told them to donate the food to a shelter, and had flowers delivered with a gift note signed by the customer service person at Chewy that they talked to. I mean, and Conrad, you can elaborate on this, but I understand this is their policy. Like, this is just what they do.
Yeah. So a couple of things happened at the same time for me with Chewy. One, I was at my in-laws and there was a pile of Chewy boxes waiting to go out in recycling. And my mother-in-law talked about how amazing Chewy is. After this tweet went viral, I saw a post from a friend of mine from high school saying like the same exact, this is just policy and what they do, right? So same exact situation. They had a dog put down. They asked to return the food. Here's the refund, donate to a shelter, flowers show up like the next day. It's so exceptional and it's so easy. I mean, this is the reality is if you have a pet, you are going to lose a pet at some point in time. And if that cycles back to Chewy, this is how they respond. I was actually really lucky. And you may have met him unintentionally as well. One of my business school friends from Michigan is Chewy's CMO. And I actually asked to see if we could get him on the show to talk about this. And he was like, we've got all these hoops we have to jump through. So I'm going to his 50th birthday party next weekend. So perhaps I can, surreptitiously bring in the mic and we'll record Mark as he talks about this policy. No, I joke. But for me, you're dealing with the loss of a pet. This is really, Vish, it's a hard thing to go through, and to have a vendor, retailer care so much. It's great. The reality is when you're dealing with legal, you're also dealing with typically really, really hard, gut-wrenching situations. And, I use the example all the time of when I'm talking about intake, go buy a pair of shoes at Nordstrom, be a really annoying customer and look at your experience there, and then go home and mystery shop your own firm and compare the experiences. You're talking about a $200 or $200. I don't buy shoes at Nordstrom, but I imagine they're expensive, $200, $300, $400, right? But that's a really small ticket price when you think about it compared to hiring an attorney. And yet the experience at Nordstrom is always better than what you deliver to your prospects. This is another example of where you can go above. I mean, it would be very easy to go above and beyond for your clients or even your prospects or those who you haven't helped. There's so many ways that we can go above and beyond as lawyers that we don't, it's just, and it would be so easy to deliver an experience that's blow your mind, even for someone who doesn't turn into a client.
Right. That's the one that I think about all the time is again, I think an intake's only one aspect of this, right? There's all sorts of places throughout the journey that you can do these, just really remarkable service things. But I wanted to pick up because, we get this all the time, like, my clients don't want to leave reviews online. They don't want to talk that that I helped them get acquitted from their crime or that they got hurt or whatever, they're getting divorced. And we see this happen. I mean, when we talk about Ken Levinson, he does a really great job of empathizing really throughout, but during his intake process, you'll see in his reviews on Google, it'll say, hey, Ken helped answer some questions, and even though he wasn't the right lawyer for me, he helped to direct me to someone that could help me with my situation. So anyway, look, at this stage, hopefully you're connecting those dots. It's the right thing to do to give your clients a great experience. But I think for me, it's like, think about this. And look, I can hear you right now rolling your eyes being like, I don't sell dog food. I don't sell shoes. This isn't the same thing. But the emotion, the connection that these customers feel, ask yourself, do your clients feel that way about what you're delivering for them from the experience standpoint? And I would say it's just the relationship between your dog food provider and your lawyer is different, but isn't even more so,
100%.
Not to diminish
by
the
way,
relationship you have with Chewy.
Congratulations on insulting our audience twice in 5 minutes, Gyi. But Gyi just basically said dog food is more important to your prospects than their lawyer is. And frankly, you're treating it that way, right? Come up with a way. Like, there is a better way. There's more that you can do. And it doesn't have to come across as like this is just really, really meaningful to people. I guess the challenge from Gyi is, can you find a way to have a better relationship with your prospects than Chewy does with by selling dog food, right?
Well, and again, I think I reflect on this. You know what I think about? I think about all the time and money that lawyers are spending on ads and
on you and me,
billboards, right? and us and creative ad copy and like what's the next big shiny marketing thing, and how much time are they spending thinking about how could I deliver something really truly exceptional or remarkable to a client or to a prospect? And I just think that that's where there's misalignment, right? And I'm not saying there's plenty of those big spending lawyers that do that stuff, right? They set up charities, they do scholarships. But this type of thing, it just, I think that there's so much more, so much area for improvement in delivering something really remarkable to a client. And this is the best marketing. I mean, you can't beat this, right?
You cannot beat this, right? And the viralness of this, right? Like, there's it just builds on itself.
And maybe it won't go viral, but if a couple people are like, hey, my lawyer did this thing,
Yes. Viral tends
Virality.
to mean like massive, right? And I'm not really talking about massive scale. I'm talking about, does that become a referral source because of that exceptional experience? And the answer is maybe, right? But it's a lot cheaper than spending money with me and Gyi on Google Ads. This segment not brought to you by Google Ads.
Money makes a world go round. Money makes a world go round. Yeah, money make a world go round. Money makes a world go round. Yeah, money make a world go round.